Hello, class. And just welcome to week 3. I wanted to just highlight a few things for you to pay attention to. In week 3, as you're going through your chapter, be sure you read the whole chapter and look at the PowerPoints. But I thought it might be helpful also to hear a little bit of lecture as well on some of the key concepts. So I'll be providing videos as much as I can, and hopefully 1 or 2 every week. This week we're studying ethics in behavioral research. Ethics is such an important concept when it comes to research, and we have a historical perspective that we want to focus on first, just in terms of some of the reasons why we have ethics in our research and why we need ethics, because we do not want to do harm. And some historical trials have really not considered that because there wasn't an ethic code back then like there is now. So the first study that I want to highlight is Milgram's obedience experiment. So Stanley Milgram conducted a series of studies in 1963, 64, and 65 to study obedience in obedience to authority. So the study purportedly was to be an experiment on memory and learning, so deception to begin with. But Milgram was really interested in learning whether participants would continue to obey the experimenter by administering ever higher levels of shock to the learner. So Milgram's study is really important, and the results have implications for understanding obedience in real life situations. And so we want to think about that. And one of the real life examples that we can think of is the Holocaust in Nazi Germany and the Jonestown mass suicide. But it's really also an important example for discussing the problem of ethics in behavioral research. Another key example is following World War II, the Nuremberg trials were held to hear evidence against the Nazi doctors and scientists who had committed atrocities while forcing concentration camp inmates to be research subjects. The legal document that resulted from the trials contained what has become known to be the Nuremberg Code, a set of 10 rules of research of conduct that would help prevent these kinds of atrocities. The Nuremberg Code was a set of principles without any enforcement structure or endorsement by professional organizations. Consequently, the World Medical Association developed a code that is known as the Declaration of Helsinki. The 1964 document is a broader application of the Nuremberg that was produced by the medical community and included requirements that journal editors ensure that published research conforms to the principles of the declaration. So by the early 1970s, news about numerous ethical questionable studies forced the scientific community to search for a better approach to protect humans and human research subjects. So as a result of new public demand for action, a committee was formed that eventually produced the Belmont Report. And so you'll read about the Belmont Report. You need to be familiar with it. You'll learn it in your city training for sure. This report defines the principles and applications that have guided and more detailed regulations developed by the American Psychological Association and other professional organizations or societies, and the U.S. federal government and the federal regulations that apply to both medical and behavioral research investigations. The 3 basic ethical principles of the Belmont Report are beneficence, respect for persons, autonomy, and justice. And so you'll want to be familiar with those as well. We also have APA ethics codes, and APA has provided, they've been a leadership in formulating ethical principles and standards for the code of conduct related to research. And so I believe there's a link to APA's ethics code in the class. If not, you can just search it up. It's APA codes or ethics code, and they have 5 principles, and it's specifically related to conducting research. So these are just some of the highlights in terms of some of the things that you'll really want to focus in on, and kind of an overview. The chapter will also go over kind of the elements of conducting research and some of the things that you really need to consider when you're getting ready and when you're preparing to do human subjects research in terms of consent and confidentiality and privacy. Specific examples of what it means to apply those 3 principles from the Belmont Report to a research project. And so I'm hoping that you enjoy the chapter, and that you go through it and go through the PowerPoints. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email.